Hi loving soul, Remy here. Have you met somebody who has sparked some crazy physical desire in you and you just want to rip their clothes off and have a purely physical relationship with them? Well, if you're considering doing this and you have experienced anxious attachment in the past and know you have codependent traits and have felt that you needed partners in the past to make you feel safe and comforted and whole, well, I strongly urge that you listen to this episode first before you enter into some sort of friends with benefits arrangement or a casual fling, just so that you're able to navigate through it in an emotionally safe way that feels really good and empowering. So by all means, book in for that wax, go buy that lingerie, and also make listening to this episode a priority before jumping in to your new friend with benefits. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Her Love Upgrade podcast. I'm Remy Gabrielle, certified modern hypnotherapist and your love upgrade coach. I used to be an anxious dater and marrier of the wrong men, and I couldn't work out how to break my toxic patterns. But after doing the deep inner work, I attracted my lovely husband of 14 years and built the family I'd always dreamed of. Now I help women just like you heal, align, and attract the love you truly deserve. It's time to put beautiful you first for a change. So hush those notifications and let's dive in.
If you like listening to Mummy's podcast, please leave a written review on Spotify or Apple Pie.
If you know me, you know that I am all about attracting healthy, lasting relationships in a really safe, beautiful, self-esteem building, confidence building way, right? But that does not mean that there is no place in your life for a friend with benefits. If you feel called to do that, and if it feels fun and exciting and fabulous, then that is great in my opinion. But there are ways of doing it in a way that is safe emotionally for you, especially if you tended to be codependent and people pleasing in your life up to now, right? And you know that you don't want to be that way anymore. You know that that's not the way to safely attract relationships, because codependent relationships never work out and are never sustainable. It has to come from a place of wholeness and completeness, right? So it's a different way of thinking. It's a different way of thinking when you have a guy or a girl who you really fancy the pants off and you just want to get down to business with them and really enjoy yourself. You need to make sure that you stay safe enough and hold these really firm boundaries up with yourself so that you don't get emotionally attached and start needing them and start craving them, okay? Because it's a very different thing having a purely physical relationship with someone versus the start of a love relationship with someone. And what we don't want to do is go into a purely physical relationship with like a little drop of hope that it might turn into something else, because that is when it starts getting really murky and a bit icky, okay? You need to be clear with yourself that either you're going to treat them like a love interest or you're going to treat them like a physical, for want of a better word, toy. And I say that with like, you treat them with all the respect they deserve and be completely upfront with them, right, about what this is. But if everyone is completely consensual and agrees that it's just like a physical bit of fun and he acts that way or she acts that way and then you act that way, make sure that you're being totally honest with them. That yes, I'm also honest with yourself, right? That this is really all you want. So what's a good way of doing that? Well, I would literally go so far as to rehearse the whole thing in your head. So even if it's, a quick kind of spur of the moment decision, and this is also a good way of testing if it really is true that you really only want a physical relationship with them, right? But I would rehearse it. So practice tiny bit in your head, just going through what the time with them will look like. And then the most important part is practicing saying goodbye and what you're going to do after the whole event has finished. So just play it out in your head, saying goodbye to them and then getting on with your life after it and really enjoying the experience, honouring this goddess that you are, this sexual goddess, having fun and honouring your, physical desires, okay? And notice there how I didn't say physical needs, because I strongly believe you should not outsource your physical needs. Even if you are feeling horny and you want to get some satisfaction, there are plenty of ways of doing it yourself that are actually really beautiful, really important to be able to pleasure yourself and enjoy it and get your physical kind of needs met in that way. Having said that, sometimes you meet someone and there's this like crazy physical connection and you think, yeah, it'd be really fun to just have sex with them. Great. As long as you're being really honest with yourself and them about your expectations of where it's going to go, and that you remain really emotionally safe and secure throughout the whole experience. So when you are practicing in your head and you're rehearsing the whole scenario, you're rehearsing what it will be like sleeping with them, you're rehearsing what it's going to be like saying goodbye, you're rehearsing what it's like getting on with your life, and you're also maintaining this vision of yourself whilst the whole thing is going on as a goddess enjoying this wonderful experience that's been presented to you in your life and fully living your life. And that is a really good way of doing it. Now, if you go through this visualization, however, and you start to get these pangs, this like worry or this uncomfortable feeling when it comes to saying goodbye to them, or what it means about you, or how you might feel saying goodbye and them getting on with your life and them getting on with their life, or if any sort of negativity comes up or any uncomfortable feeling or vulnerability, then you really need to look at whether this is the right thing for you, because it's only going to get harder after the event, and it has to be something that you are stepping into your power with, that makes you feel powerful. So it needs to be an empowering experience, not something that's going to drain your self-confidence and make you feel even more needy and even more vulnerable, because that is not the point of a friend with benefits, right? If it's going to be an enriching, fun, self-affirming, delicious experience, then you go, girl, right? If it's not, if it's anything other than that, then just look at your intentions and why you're actually wanting to enter into it. Because it could be a people-pleasing part of you that's still there. It could be a part of you that feels like you need somebody else to make you feel safe, that you need somebody else to make you feel comforted, or any other thought that revolves around the need for them to stick around and give you some sort of emotional comfort, or to fulfill some emotional need that you have. Well, that's being deceitful to yourself, and it's very much out of alignment. And not only that, but you're also being deceptive to them as well, because you're leading them down a path where they think it's going to be a purely physical experience. And if you want something more, well, that's going to make them feel like they've done something wrong, right? Because when they haven't, if they've been completely upfront with you that they want something physical, and then in your head you've turned it in, I say this with so much love, but you've turned it into some sort of some romanticized idea that it's going to be some sort of Pretty Woman, Richard Gere scenario, the movie where he buys a prostitute and ends up falling in love with her. Okay. Not saying that you're a prostitute or you're being sold or anything like that, but it's this, I think, why the movie was so popular, let's be honest, because it's like some amazing scenario. It's like us being chosen, the chosen one, where some billionaire buys us for the weekend and, picks us because we look hot, and then ends up falling madly in love with us. And even though he is so emotionally unavailable and has spent millions of dollars trying to undo his anger issues and his emotional issues, suddenly, because we're so wonderful, he just manages to just get in touch with the little boy inside of him and, open up all his emotional security doors and lets us in. It's the most perfect romanticized vision ever. So that's why that movie is just so popular, because we all hope that happens, but that's not really real life. It very rarely happens that we meet somebody who's emotionally unavailable and tells us that they're emotionally unavailable and then suddenly turns into some Prince Charming. Not going to happen. But the good news is that there is magic and there is good news, which is when you do thwart these codependent needs and you let go of all these childhood wounds and untrue beliefs that are not serving you about the lack of what's available for you and, what's available full stop, then you are able to prioritize your joy, which is really the reason we're here. Really the reason we're here is to follow our desires, follow our curiosities, follow our joys, live at this high vibe way of thinking where we just start doing things that feel really good to us, and we live with ease and grace, and we are able to spot our fearful ego when it comes up and tries to keep us tethered to the familiar that is no longer serving us. And instead we choose a better thought, and we choose a better way of being that's more self-led and in line with our real truth. And then magic starts happening, whether it's some divine source or not, whatever you want to believe, there is some magic going on that when we live that way, we suddenly just start attracting and co-creating wonderful things into our life. And you'll just find that you're in the right place at the right time. Like yesterday, I was out having a beautiful walk in the most gorgeous sunshine, and it was just such a wonderful feeling. And I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, and I was feeling great and loving what I was listening to, and thinking how lucky I am to do this work. And I walked past this lady and her dog, and I thought, oh my God, I think that's my client. And you know what it was? Out of all the people in Sydney where I live, she was walking past me at that exact moment. And we ended up, I sent her a message saying, was that you that I just walked past? And I was like, do you want to just have a session in the sunshine in the park instead of in half an hour's time? And she's like, yes, great. And we ended up having those beautiful talk and walk around the park with her and her gorgeous dog. And it was so fabulous. And I was just like, wow, there we go. Living in alignment and having just good, amazing experiences happen. It's just, I could have gone on, I was actually going to go for a walk in another place, funnily enough. And then I kind of realised that I left my sunglasses at home. I needed to go to the toilet. So I ran home, did my wee, picked up my sunglasses and went for a walk locally to me. And then there we go, that all happened. So it just goes to show, I would never have picked in a million years that would have happened. And it ended up being just such a beautiful morning. And, that is just a small example of how life just gets better and better and better when we live in alignment and choose better feeling thoughts and have this high vibrational energy going on, feeling really good. So I hope that's helped. And I hope that if you do choose to have a friend with benefits or a fuck buddy or whatever it is you choose to call them, that it does make you feel high vibe and you walk away feeling like some goddess, done something that felt really good with somebody who you just had this mad burning attraction for, and then you can go on with your life feeling excellent about yourself, that you have honoured your desires and you really enjoyed the experience. And how wonderful that one day when you are with the man of your dreams, who may be the father of your children, and you're hugging together on the couch, whatever feels good for you to envision about your future, with this partner that is coming at the perfect time when they come in your life and you are with them, and then that is it forever. You're going to be able to think back to these fabulous experiences you had and be so grateful that your life was enriched with sexual experiences that you were called to enjoy and that you got to do them. Because let's be honest, when you're with the man of your dreams or the woman of your dreams or the partner of your dreams, that's it. You are with them for life. And as beautiful as that is on many, many levels, it also means that generally that is to the exclusion of all others. So if you are called to have varying sexual experiences with other people, go for it now, because if you do want lasting love, it's not going to happen anymore, right? I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I would not choose to have another experience with somebody else other than my husband, because I love him with all my heart. But the fact of the matter is, even if I wanted to, I couldn't. That would put the whole relationship at jeopardy, and I would never do that. So it's just something to think about, because sometimes when we're single, we get lost in this lack mentality of what we don't have. And we forget what we do have, which is freedom and the ability to do whatever the heck we want, whatever feels good. We can literally drop everything and go and do it, which you just cannot do when you have somebody else and you're in a partnership with them, or Gosh, even more if you're a mother, you know, then you're really tied in. But again, wouldn't change that for a world. That is beautiful. So, and I think this is a whole other conversation, but sometimes we get into serious relationships when we're younger because it's out of codependency and need. Maybe we're trying to escape a situation at home. Maybe it's just because it became the default and it just became a habit, and it wasn't something that was actually intentional and aligned, but we fell into it because we didn't know anything else and we thought that's what we should do at the time. There's a myriad of reasons we get into relationships when we're very young. But if you really consider that our brains aren't even fully formed until we're in our mid-20s, and yet we make all these important decisions about careers and relationships, sometimes when we're way younger than that. So anyway, just something to think about. On that note, I will leave you. And if you do choose to go ahead having fun with a friend with benefits, then I hope you have a super duper time. You queen. Much love. Mwah.
You should be so proud of this courageous, incredible journey you are on, and I'm so happy to be here supporting you to say goodbye to toxic relationships and claim the wonderful life and love you truly deserve. If you have a friend who you think needs to hear today's episode too, why not spread the love and share it with them? Sending you so much love in abundance. Until next time.